All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be going over some games from last night's Rainbow Luffy tournament that we had here on the channel. Okay, so pretty chill, lighthearted, fun video lined up for today. Let's get right into it. I'll lay it out for you real quick. First, we're going to check out, I think it's 7 or 8 games, okay, that we're going to go over from the tournament last night. And then after that, we're going to check out the top 2 deck list, the finalists. We'll check out the deck list they came up with for this really cool, interesting leader here. Okay, I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description, and I'll have all relevant links and stuff like that in the comment section below. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below, or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link will be in the channel description. Alright, so this very first game we're going to be going over is actually going to be round 1, and that's the order we're going to be going in. The way the tournament was set up is there were 4 different pods, okay? And the top 2 players from each pod over the course of 4 rounds went into the top 8, and then they had a top 8 pairing to go through to the finals. So we're going to be going, round 1, round 2, round 3, and then I think we have 2 games from round 4, or maybe it was 2 games from round 3 or something like that, and then we have, then we go into the top 8. Okay, so here we go. This is from round 1. So let's go ahead. I am going to be playing this on 2x speed, guys, just for the sake of time. We're going to have quite a few games to go over, and let me give this this disclaimer up front here. Some of the quality on this is a little bit low because this was all done through Discord. Okay, so these weren't games that I was recording on my own computer to play back to you guys later like my standard format. I was just watching people play the game on Discord, and some people's, it all depends on like the internet connection and things like that. And so some of these are a little bit lower quality, but bear with me, guys. One more thing I have to mention. What's going on with the black box at the top right and at the bottom left? Remember, this was a tournament and I was streaming it. So I didn't want people to be able to see the hand of the player we were viewing, so they weren't at some kind of disadvantage, just in case someone was trying to cheat or something like that. Not saying anyone wanted to do that, but I didn't want there to be any chances with that for people who were competing. In this tournament, I didn't want them to be at any kind of disadvantage. Okay, so let's do this, guys. Here is game 1. Let's check it out. Volume is off. The speed is on 2x, and here we go. All right. So the player at the top, they went first, and they play out a Bonnie on turn 1. Player at the bottom had no turn 1 play. And turn 2, the player at the top here, we're just going to call them Human, because that's their name up there is I Am a Human. They went ahead and did a search with Bonnie, and they play out a Beige after swinging for 5. The player at the bottom, we have Corazon. I'm just going to call him Corazon. They're going to go ahead and play out the Lilith there. Now, notice with this one, I did not put the black bar tall enough where it still showed some of the searches. We do fix that over the course of the tournament. They play out a Lilith, so they're playing like an egghead version of Luffy. How cool is that? Because remember, guys, with this leader, you can build the deck however you want to. You can build it Supernovas, you can build it Egghead, you can build it Don Quixote Pirates, or any kind of mixture in between, right? So here we go. The player at the top establishes a Lucky Roo after swinging for 5 and doing another search, and now let's see what the player at the bottom does to respond. They're going to go 5 into 1 to get that blocker out, or excuse me, to get that searcher out of here. That makes sense. That seems like a very good idea. They're going to develop a Onami to swing in for 6,000 with Banish, and it looks like the player at the top is going to 2K counter out. Excuse me. Okay, now let's see what happens next here. All right, the player at the top, they are now going to be able to swing for 5. And it looks like they're going to, I will say this, it is very scary to take the 5K hits early on in a format like this, because it all depends on how you built your life with how much life gain and things like that. And look at the follow-up for the player at the top here. They play out a Cavendish into a Tashigi. Now their Cavendish is protected in multiple different ways, right? Because it's a Supernova card, so the Beige is protecting it, and then it's a green card, so Tashigi is protecting it as well. But the player at the bottom here is going to go ahead and play out a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger to bottom deck the yellow and red card down there, which was not protected by the Tashigi. It got rid of the Beige and the Lucky Roo. Okay, the player at the top is going to answer back with a Eustace Kid here, swinging for 6. So, Pauls, let me at least give some type of, constructive criticism here. Instead of putting a Dawn on the Eustace Kid, they probably could have put that Dawn on the Cavendish and just swing for 7 into the Lilith and then, you know, standing up 2 Dawn to play with for the turn. But it looks like they're going to swing 6 and then 7 in this way, so that works as well. That's also a good way to deal with it. Okay, so they swing in for 7, like I was just saying. They had it all planned out from the beginning, guys. Perfect. So swing 6, swing 7. They got a 2K counter out of hand and then got rid of the character on the board. They have an 8-cost Eustace Kid on the board now, and this is looking very scary for the player on the bottom here. The player on the bottom is going to be able to swing 9 into 8. They're going to go ahead and give a blocker. And right here, they can't actually use their Luffy because they're not at 2 or less life. They can't KO the Tashigi, which is really unfortunate for the player at the bottom here. Okay, player at the top is going to go ahead and play out a Hody Jones, rest down the board. This will be a very strong turn for them to go into the board. 9 into 6, they're going to let that go because there's still a 6K attack, an 8K attack, a 5K attack coming in. This is a rough spot to find yourself in, right? This is a very rough spot to find yourself in. So the Cavendish is going to swing for 6. And I would be surprised if they just leave this Onami on the board, but at the same time, there's no way that Onami is going to be able to swing into this Eustace Captain Kid, right? They'd have to attach so much Dawn just to make it worth it. Just attaching 5 Dawn to that Onami is going to be an 8,000 attack into 8,000, and that's so much resources lost. So maybe it was the right decision there to not swing into the Onami. Okay, what is the player at the bottom going to do here? What is Corazon going to do? They've got 10 Dawn to work with. They have 7 cards in hand, even though we can't see them. Okay, they're going to play... Okay, pause. So they're going to play out a Rayleigh. Excuse me. They're going to play out a Rayleigh. And, okay, I'm surprised they did things in this specific way here. The way that I would have distributed the power reduction is I would have done minus 3,000 to the Eustace Kid, and then I would have actually done minus 2,000 to the Tashigi, and I would have KO'd the Tashigi. Because understand, anything else on the board right now, the Rosinante can save it. Okay? And the reason I was saying minus 3,000 to the Eustace Kid is that makes it into a 5,000 power character where now we can attach maybe 2 Dawn to Onami to swing for 5 into it and then swing for 5 with our leader into it. Because notice the player at the top, they only have 4 cards in hand. So that's kind of the way that I would have done that a little bit differently. But hey, you know, let's see what happens here. Okay, they decide to try to KO the Rosinante, and then the Tashigi gets rested down to protect it. And guys, this is a full green board. Even though this is a Rainbow Luffy tournament, the entire board for the top side player there, I'm a human, their entire board is green. So that Tashigi can save anything on the board right now as long as it's active. Okay, and the Rosinante can save anything that's rested. That's a pretty good combo there, right? Okay, they're going to swing for 8 after attaching 2 Dawn, because remember that Eustace Kid is just a 5K right now. And it looks like the player at the bottom is, I think they, hang on, I didn't actually see that. Did they counter out of it? Very nice. Okay, I think they did a 2K, 1K there to get out of it. Hang on, how did they get out? We got to go back to that real quick, guys. Oh, they used the event. I was going to say, wait, something's not adding up, and then they trashed a 1K counter. So they did an event and a 1K counter, and now there's going to be a 7K attack to follow up. That's going to go through, and see, notice how it's kind of getting a little bit pixelated, guys. My apologies there, I can't control that. So they swing in for 7K more. They're going to take it. They're down to 0 life, and here we go. They're going to swing in for 10 with 6 cards left. They're going to counter, and not enough counter. That will be game 1. What a fun game there, guys. Good game to both players. These games were so much fun to watch, I have to say. They were so much fun to watch. And just seeing what everybody came up with was so interesting. Notice the hand of the player at the top there. That is an 8-cost Gecko Mori, guys. Even banned cards were allowed in this tournament. The only thing that was not allowed, I forgot to specify this at the beginning, was OP12 and ST22. Maybe for the next tournament, you know, those will be legal. Okay, that was game 1. Good game to both players there. Now we're going to hop down. Let me actually go full screen here and hop over to game 2. Okay, so game 2. We have Rainbow Luffy versus Rainbow Luffy. What are the odds? I know. So the player at the top is going to be going first here, and they have no turn 1 play. Player at the bottom also no turn 1 play. Turn 2, though, player at the top swings for 6 and slams down Rosinante. And hang on, guys, this is a fast game. We're going to 1x speed. I do remember this game. This is a very fast game. So the player at the top played out Rosinante for turn 2 after swinging for 6. Player at the bottom plays out, they swing for 6 as well, play out the stage, and ramp a Dawn. Okay, here we go. Guys, we are not in 2x speed right now because I do remember this game. This is a fast game here. Player at the top now, they're going to slam down the 4-cost Boncaray, Mr. 2 Boncaray Bentham, ramping at Dawn, and then swing for 7, 2k, 1k to get out of it for the player at the bottom here. Okay, here we go. 7 Dawn turn. Let's see what they choose to do. They're going to use the Luffy. Okay, they use the beer Luffy or Cheers Luffy. They're going to swing for 7,000 with their leader, and that's probably going to get... it all depends on what's in the player's hand at the top, but I would actually more than... I'd probably take this hit, guys, to be completely honest. I would probably take this hit here. Okay, they do end up taking it. I think that was the right call because they still have 3 life, guys, and now they have a very strong hand size, and they'll be able to develop from here. Okay, so it is an 8 Dawn play for the player at the top as well now. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and swing for 7. And they're kind of ramping. They kind of ramped at the same pace because of the Cheers Luffy, right? Because let me see, 4, 6. They went up to 8, then back down to 6. Yeah, for the Luffy there. That makes, hey, that's... Pause. We got to talk about this real quick. That is a Burndy world. Yes, guys, that is a Burndy world on the board right now. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But the way that this game went is they were both kind of ramping at the same pace, but then the player at the bottom, they played out a Monkey D. Luffy. They went from 8 Dawn down to 6, but check this out. The player at the top played out a Katakuri, and that's going to do a lot of Dawn fixing as well, while also protecting out of these really annoying 7k attacks. But let's see him try to counter out of this Burndy World attack, right? We'll see how that goes. Okay, here we go. So that is a Burndy World on the board, guys. And for those who are not aware of what Burndy World does, it is an 8-cost, 8,000 power character that has a an activate main, which I believe is, I think it's like Dawn -6 or something like that. It's a really, it might even be Dawn -8. And what it does is it gives that character plus 792,000 power for the turn. Okay, so it ends up being an 800,000 power attack. Okay, so swinging 5, excuse me, swinging 7 into the Mr. 2, it gets blocked out, and here we go. I think both attacks were blocked out to save the Mr. 2 Boncaray Bentham because they had the little 2-cost Rosinante blocker and the 8-cost Katakuri. Okay, so the player at the top here went ahead and played out a Rayleigh. Silver's Rayleigh is always a good card, right? No matter what deck you can put it in, it is a very good card regardless, and that's going to weaken the entire board's power here, and let's see what happens. So they swing for 8 into 4. They end up countering out of that, and then they take it, and then the 6k ends up getting through, and now they're going to be swinging 8 at the leader with the Katakuri here. 8,000 into 7 seems good, leaving 1 Dawn active. That makes a lot of sense, guys, because in this tournament, with the way your leader works, you have access. Okay, they actually do a searcher here, but with the way your leader works, you have access to Oh Come My Way and even Gum Gum Giant. Okay, so very, very powerful to, leaving 1 Dawn. There's other options as well, but leaving 1 Dawn active in this format is very scary. There are a lot of really good options. Okay, so it looks like we're going to play out the player on the bottom is going to play out the Black Maria here. And let's see what happens. They're going to go ahead and rest a Dawn. They ramp all their Dawn back with with Black Maria here and with the Monkey D. Luffy. Hang on, but I don't think they use the Black Maria just yet because they're probably going to use the Black Maria after using the Burndy World's effect here. Yep, so they're going to gain the 5 Dawn back, and now they're back up to, let me see, 7 Dawn. Okay, they're back up to 7 Dawn. Uh-oh, I think we swung it a little bit out of order there. Probably should have swung with the Luffy first so they couldn't get the free block, because if they wanted to block that, you get to smash in for 800,000 into that blocker. Okay, but here we go. Let's see what they choose to do. It is the player at the top's turn, and they are on 10 Dawn. They're on a 10 Dawn turn here, I think just like last turn. And let's see what they choose to do with that. Let's see what kind of card they can follow up with here. So 8,000 into 8,000. That will probably get, that actually gets let go because I think the player at the bottom is actually running out of cards. I know we can't see the amount of cards in their hand right now, but I think they only had a few cards left at this point of the game. Okay, so it looks like the player at the top attacked out of order. They should have attacked first with the Mr. 2 Boncaray Bentham to have an 8,000 power attack using the Burndy World as the target. Okay, but they're going to, like I said, they swung a little bit out of order there. They're going to swing with the Luffy now. They're going to swing 5 in, but it gets blocked out by the Sabo. Okay, and I'm very surprised that the player at the top did not swing 8,000 into the Sabo. Uh-oh, hang on. Player at the top plays out a Charlotte Lin to rip the last life card from the player at the bottom, and now they're up to 3 life. This is a very rough spot to be in right now. Let's see what they choose to do. Might even want to attack with the with the Black Maria here, because Black Maria, they've already used up all their value, right? That Black Maria is not going to get anything done here. Okay, so swinging for 8 into the Mr. 2 Boncray Bentham to get around the blocker, but they block anyway to get a 1K count and use a 1K counter from hand. All right. Swinging 2 into 1 here. They let that go. Seems good. And now, what do we do in this situation, guys? This is pretty much the end of the road here, right? Unless there are some very powerful events in the hand of the player at the bottom, Infinity. We'll see what happens, though. Okay, it looks like it's going to be a 9K poke to start the attack off with, and they're just going to go ahead and concede. Good game to both players. But, man, once a player, I did notice this in a lot of the games, it seemed like once one player started getting the advantage, it almost felt like a snowball effect because of all the powerful characters you can have in this kind of, in this kind of format, where it's like, okay, I'm going to play out a Katakuri. You know, it would be really insane to combo with that. Next turn, I'm going to play out a Rayleigh and just nerf your entire board. And then you know what I'm going to do to finish it all off? I'm going to play out a 10-cost Lin, eat your life up, gain a life, and buy time like that. It ends up being a really powerful snowball style of effect there. Okay, good game to both players. Let's move on to the next one. All right, now we got game 3. Here we go. Volume is off, obviously, and then the speed, let's put it back to 2x for this one. Okay, and we have... now, this is a player we saw earlier, right? This is the player Corzone versus Psy Rockin, PSI Rockin. Okay? No, hang on, pause. So remember, Corzone was playing the version with the egghead stuff going on, right? So turn 1, nothing for the player at the top. Turn 1 for the player at the bottom ends up developing an egghead, the egghead stage to stand up some characters. And then the player at the top, no turn 2 play either, swinging in for 8. And now it's the player at the bottom's turn. They're going to have a 4-dawn play. Let's see what they do with it. They're going to play out a Lilith here. Seems good. They're going to play out, develop the Lilith, and they're going to do a top search. And then they're going to be able to swing in for 6 with their leader, knocking them down. Okay, hang on. Now, the guy at the top also has some egghead cards here, okay? The player at the top also has some egghead cards, and they get a Lilith from the trigger. Attacking for 5, they take that and get a Shaka. Okay, this is like a battle of the trigger decks here, man. Full-on trigger deck aggro going on here. So just take the hits early on, take super greedy hits early on, fill out the board from your life, and go from there. Okay, this is almost a mirror match, right? As far as the base goes, the core package, there's probably going to be some random cards in each deck like this Karasu here, right? But this is almost a mirror match. So swinging for 6 into a 4, that's gone. Swing for 6, swing for 6. That was a good number to attack with in this tournament. You know, attacking for those 6s, getting all the 2K counters out of hand. Okay. And right here, notice this. I'm gonna fix the. I finally fixed the black bar at the bottom so people could not see the searches as easily. Okay, the player at the top here is going to start off with a 5K attack. They're actually going to let that go. They're not even going to block with Shaka. They're not even going to risk blocking with their Shaka here. They don't want to lose that. That card is very, very important in any matchup, especially when the egghead stage is down. Okay, it looks like they're going to swing in. No trigger. And it looks like they're going to swing for 7. And they're probably just going to maybe block and 2K out of this, depending on what's in their hand. Again, I don't know what's in their hand, and I can't remember from last night. They're going to block and 2K counter out. And then they're going to play out the Nami here, KOing the Karasu by trashing a trigger. Seems good. Okay, player at the bottom, they're going to start off with a Lilith search. And then there's going to be probably some attacks into the board. So 5 into 5 here, 1K counter. 6 into 5 here. Let's see if they get out of this. 2K counter. So only 4 cards left in the player at the top's hand, okay? Only four cards left in their hand. Okay, here we go. I had to fix the black bar one more time. And notice it is getting a little bit pixelated. That's just how Discord was acting sometimes last night. Okay, so 5K attack into 5K here. There are 2 blockers on the board right now. That is a 5-call Sabo, in case you can't see that through the pixelation, and the 5-call Shaka, and then the 3-cost Lilith. Okay, 5K gets eaten up by a 6K blocker. Excuse me. And now there's going to be another 5K attack in here. Yep, just 1K counter out of that. I do love these 5K pokes, guys. You just keep doing this chip damage. Just keep chipping them down. 5K, 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 5K. And now they're losing cards out of hand or life or on the board or whatever. It seems good. And look at that, guys. They develop a 8-cost Gecko Moria, pulling back an Edison from the trash, but I don't think it was able to do the draw to trash 2, because I think you have to have 2 or less life to get that on play effect. But it did still establish 2 bodies. The player on the bottom decks it with a red rock, and now they're going to be swinging 7 into 5. That's probably going to be gone. Yep, and it looks like we're probably going to go 6 into 5 here. Let's see if they're going to be able to save that. They do. The player at the top saves it, and now it's going to be a 7 into 5, and they let that go as well. Only 4 cards in hand for the player at the top here. What are we going to do? I'd be very surprised. Okay, they actually let that go. I'm surprised they didn't want to block out of that, but hey, seems good. They end up letting it go. And okay, and then they follow up with a Charlotte Linlin, so it ended up not mattering anyway. Okay, so here we go. Here we go, guys. The player at the bottom is going to develop a 5-cost Vegapunk, which pulls out a Pythagoras from the top 5 search. And now it looks like there's going to be an 8k attack with Banish, gets a Frankie trigger out of the way, and then swing for 6, and they take that as well. However, while the player at the bottom has a lot of characters on the board, and a lot of them are blockers, the player at the top is probably in a slightly better position here. Because look at this, they're going to swing for 6 here. And I don't think there's many cards left in the hand of the player at the bottom. I think they only have like 4 or 5 cards left in hand. They're going to swing for 6 again. They had to give up the Vegapunk blocker last time. Maybe block and 1k to get out of this. Or, yeah, actually just going to... Okay, interesting. They chose to... well, I guess they do have to save these last attacks, right? For the against this massive attack from Linlin. Okay. So they're going to swing 12 in. They end up giving the Shaka blocker. I think we probably should have gave the Sabo blocker there. Just, you know... Just trying to help out with constructive criticism, because remember, Shaka can attack and stand up every turn with the Egghead stage. Okay, let's see what happens here. Red Rock, we're going to bottom deck the 2 cards on the left. It was a Sugar and a 2-cost blocker. I believe it was Shirahoshi, or I think it was Shirahoshi or something like that. But we're going to bottom deck those, and now going for lethal. Swing for 6, swing for 6. Has the Gum Gum Giant, and that is probably going to be game. Yep, just going to swing in for a 22 here, and that will be game. Good game to both players. Okay, and I always like to look at the hand of the player that we just saw. Check that out. There was a Hody Jones in there, double Gum Gum Giant, Tinlin. So no matter what, the player at the top was in a very good position, and it was really just coming down to, well, what is my opponent going to have to, to defend out? Because if they needed to go an extra turn, they could have maybe established Linlin or sent on double Gum Gum Giant, or if they needed to go for game and there were some blockers, they could have played out a Hody Jones. So a lot of options in their hand. Look at that. There's a red card, a yellow card, a green card, and a purple card, and they are all very good from those, from each of those colors. Okay, good game to both players. Let's move on to the next one. All right, that was game 3. Right now, moving on to game 4. All right, here we go. Game 4. Let's see if... So these are 2 players we have not seen yet, okay? Both pause. So player at the top goes first, no turn 1 play. Same thing for the player at the bottom, no turn 1 plays for either player. Player at the top is going to swing for 5. They have 3 Dawn left to work with. They are going to play. They're going to play out I'm Invincible to stand their leader up and attack again. That's right, guys. That's the Uda event that allows you to stand up a stand a card named Uda. I think it might be a leader named Uda, but I can't remember. Okay, so going to swing in for 6 here. Develop a Lilith for the player at the bottom. Seems good. Player at the top is going to develop a Cavendish, get the 2 Dawn as active, and then swing for 7. They get a trigger, though. That's an Atlas, guys. Seems good. So they're going to swing in for 5 here. The player at the bottom is going to swing in for 5. Then they're going to swing in for 7. See what happens here. They're going to take it, and now they're going to play out a, hang on, pause. Wow. Playing out an Onami, giving the leader Banish, playing out a Nico Olvia, giving the leader plus 3,000, and they're swinging for 10,000 into 5 with Banish. I think you just have to let that go, and it was a 2K counter. That's very unfortunate for the player at the top there, right? That is very, very unfortunate for them. All right, here we go. What are they going to do with 7 Dawn? They do have a Cavendish on the board, guys. They do have the Cavendish on the board. Let's see what they choose to do with it. They're going to play out a 7-cost Flame Emperor to KO an 8,000 power or lower character, okay, and then give their leader double attack and plus 3,000 power for the turn. That would usually only work with Portgas D Ace, right? But here we go. And then they attack in, okay? And now where are they going to attack with their leader? They're going to they're going to go for the board. I do agree with that, because remember, we just saw a lot of triggers attacking into their life with double attack could give them 2 body triggers that could win them the game. Okay? All right, let's see what happens here. I think the player, like, if I had to guess, it's hard to say, but I feel like the player at the bottom, it depends on what they play this turn, I feel like they could be in a slightly better position. So it's going to be a 5k attack, 2k counter to get out of it. And then the player at the bottom is going to develop a Lilith and swing 8 into 6. They cannot save the Cavendish, so the player at the top here is going to have to develop something very big here to stay in this game. Maybe an 8-cost, maybe an 8-cost Katakuri. That could be massive here as a blocker and a way to stabilize. Okay, but they attack in for 6 and they get another trigger. Are they going to be able to survive here? They have 2 life. They have a blocker, but they have no Dawn as active. So they can't Gum Gum Giant. They can't do any kind of Oh Come My Way type of tricks or anything. And they can't do any kind of counter, event tricks unless it's a 0 cost. Excuse me. Okay. So going to swing for 7 into 5 here to start it off. This is probably a good time to just cash in on the blocker because it's free value. Then they swing in for 7 more. They take that, and they get a Gravity Blade trigger to bottom deck the Onami, the 2-cost Onami. So here we go. They're probably not going to go for lethal anymore, right? They're going to swing in for 7 and to drop them down to 1 life. And now let's see what happens. Let's see what happens now. This might be the player on the top's chance to get back in this game. They're going to develop a Lin Lin. I think they probably should have swung for 5 first with their leader just to see what the opponent was going to do. 8 into 5, they're probably just going to let this go. I would have swung 8 into 6, I think. They're going to just go ahead and Oh Come My Way and redirect the attack into a 0-cost Nico Olvia. And now they have 5k more to attack with. Might as well attack into it with the leader. Yep, seems good. Makes sense to me. And they're going to 1k counter out to save it. Okay. Let's see what happens here. What is the player on the top going to do? There's about to be 4 attacks coming in. They only have a blocker and 1 life, so they have to get out of 2 attacks here potentially. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Now, remember what happened last time, right? We already saw the player on the top get a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger trigger to save them from that first, from one of those attacks, right? From the previous turn. So I think taking one of these first hits will be a very, very intelligent thing to do. Because if you get a trigger, it could help you out big time. Okay, let's see what happens here. It looks like the player at the bottom here is trying to figure out how they want to deal with this. And remember, guys, we are in 2x speed, right? We are in 2x speed. Let's see what they choose to do. They're going to start off with a 7k attack. Now, I think I would probably... Now, they can block, but they're going to 2k, 1k. I would have either taken or blocked that hit, guys. Okay, here comes the next 7k attack in. Let's see what happens. Okay, they take it. Any trigger? Flame Emperor, KOing a 6,000 power or lower character, I believe is how it's worded. It got rid of one of the attackers, and now the leader can't even attack in because of the Katakuri, and that might have been enough to win the game for the player at the top there. That was a massive, that was an absolutely massive follow-up, or trigger to hit for the player at the top. And guys, triggers can really win you games, especially when you build an entire deck like with Rainbow Luffy, where you have access to all the different triggers in the game. Okay, it's going to be a 9k attack in here, guys. Let's see how this is met with the, let's see how the player at the bottom deals with this, if it's going to be enough. Because they only have 2 attacks here, or excuse me, they only have 3 attacks. All 3 attacks have to get through. So if the player at the bottom has some type of, okay, they got a Dureshi effect. Hang on, they got a trigger, Dureshi, drawing a card, and I think they drew into another Dureshi if I remember correctly. So that didn't help them all that much, right? Let's see what happens here, though. Watch this, guys. I do remember this game, and this one is a banger. I just want to make sure we're in 2x speed. Yep, all right, here we go. 9. Okay, so the player at the top decided, you know what? I'm going for the board. I'm going to play this safe because there's still 1 Dawn active. That could be a Gum Gum Giant. And to get, or another. It could be another Oh Come My Way and just get him out of the attack. So the player at the top is going to try to play this safe. They're going to play out a Shaka, and they're going to be able to stand up. They'll have 2 blockers here. No Dawn. They won't have any, Dawn is active. But they will have 2 blockers and 4 cards in hand to try to survive 2 attacks this turn. But what if the player at the bottom has Hody Jones? What if the player at the bottom has some type of way to get through this? Guys, I do remember this game. This is an outrageous ending. Okay, this ending is absolutely outrageous. The player at the bottom, I know we can't see their hand right now, but I do remember this game, and they basically had very limited options, and one of the options was Dureshi, okay? And what they end up searching for is a way to get around that Shaka. What can they search up, guys? What kind of card could they search up right here to get around that Shaka to try to just swing in with their own Shaka and with their leader? Watch this, guys. This turn is crazy. They end up doing a top 5 search for 2 cards with trigger with the Dureshi. They haven't done it yet. This turn here took a little bit of time because they were really trying to consider all their options, because it's like, okay, I either win this turn or I lose, right? It's just that simple, right? It's just that simple. They're going to do a top 5 search now with Dureshi. They grabbed I think it was like a 2k counter Frankie or something, and a Nami, a 5-cost Nami to get around that Shaka. Watch this, guys. Watch this. So what that means is, okay, if they play that out, they already spent 3 on Dareshi. It's going to be 5 for the Nami. They'll only have 2 Dawn left. They're going to have to swing 6, swing 7, and hope for the best, guys. They're going to have to swing 6, swing 7, hope for the best. They play out the Onami, trashing York, KOing the Shockham. Swing 6, does he have it or does he not have it? Okay, it literally is going to come down to that, and here we go. Watch this, guys. Watch this. Block, swing 7, only 4 cards in hand. Do they have it? 1K counter. They did not have it. Look at that, guys. They had 2 10-cost Teaches in their hand, and they had the Basil Hawkins. Oh, man. You hate to see it, but hey, it happens, right? It happens. Good game to both players. That was an outrageous ending. It literally came down to just doing a top 5 search and having exactly enough to get there in the end, you know, to get through the block or swing for 6, swing for 7 when there was only 1K left in their hand. Great game to both players. That one was awesome. All right, we got one more game here. We got one more game before the top 8 here. This is game 5. This is our 5th game here before we break into the top 8. Okay. Here we go. Lightning fast start. Most of these games were pretty much lightning fast starts because it seemed like, I had to pause it, guys. Bear with me for 1 second while I explain this. Most games were actually like, it seemed like everyone was trying to just ramp early on to the big stuff so they can get to the late game as quick as possible. So same thing is true here. The player at the top, turn 1, nothing. Player at the bottom, turn 1, nothing. Back to the player at the top for turn 2. They develop a stage and swing for 5. Okay, now see what the player at the bottom does here. They're probably going to counter out. I think it's smart to get out of these little 5K attacks, guys, because later in the game, those attacks become massive. Player at the bottom develops the Mr. 2 Boncray Bentham, ramping a Dawn, swinging for 6. So again, they both ramped Dawn right away up front. That seemed like a very popular strategy in this style of tournament. Okay, let's see what the player at the top chooses to do now. They develop a Cavendish, seems really good, and they're going to develop a Zeus. They're going to take a life for that, but they're getting rid of the Mr. 2 Boncray Bentham. Seems good. Okay, the player at the bottom says, okay, that's enough of that. Gravity Blade, get those things out of here. Going to swing for 5, and they'll be on 9 Dawn next turn, okay? But the player at the top, also at 9 Dawn. Excuse me. Well, yeah, they're at 9 Dawn. They're going to use their stage to go up to 10 Dawn, but they can only use 9 of it this turn. And let's see, it looks like there might be a trigger. They get it's to die for trigger to ramp a Dawn. So now the player at the bottom actually goes to 10 Dawn. Player at the top plays out Crocodile to gain a life. Player at the bottom plays out a Duval. They're going to play out a Duval and a Rosinante, and it looks like they're just going to load up for 10 and attack into the enemy leader. They'll probably end up taking this. I think it'd be very wise to take this hit. They do. Okay, and now it is the player at the top's turn. 1 Dawn active for the player at the bottom, though. 1 Dawn active for the player at the bottom. Let's see what happens here. Okay, 10 Dawn. They're going to develop a Sanji, resting down a character. They'll probably just swing 5 into that with the leader, and then they can swing 7, swing 9 for the turn. Okay, player at the top develops Sanji. Attacks into the leader. That's very interesting. And they're going to go ahead and use a Gear 2 here to get out of it. Okay, they end up blocking that. I think that might have been a misplay there, but hey, I guess it didn't matter. That might have been a misclick, guys, but at the end it didn't matter because they didn't go for the board. I think going for these little blockers would have been a good idea, though. Just get those out of the way. We've already seen the Gear 2. What if they're running other events like Oh Come My Way? Okay, Flame Emperor swinging for 11 into 5 here, that with double attack, and they got rid of the Sanji. Gear 2, they're actually going to try to get out of this. I think I would have actually taken this, guys. Okay, and they do actually get out of it, but it took a lot of cards from hand. I think I would have just taken that hit there. It all depends, of course, on what they have, what they have in hand. They're going to develop a Gecko Moria, pulling out a Miss All Sunday. Guys, do y'all know what Miss All Sunday does? That's usually locked to Baroque work leaders, right? Or that it's locked to the Baroque works leaders, and it can bring back events from your trash. Okay, really good stuff there, and it's a blocker, by the way, so really nice target for Gecko Moria. Okay, player at the bottom here, they're down to 2 life. They develop a Doflamingo, and they're going 10 into 9. Okay, there is a blocker on the board, though. Let's see if they choose to use this blocker or not. Actually, I think they already missed the window to do that. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Nope, they go and use the blocker. They get a event from their trash, I believe, with the Miss All Sunday. And now let's see what happens next. Now, the player at the top is actually in a very strong position here. Yeah, you just poke for 9s across the board. They're going to take that. Here's another 9. Are they going to take this as well? Nope, they're going to Gum Giant to do a draw 2 and then 1K counter out. And now what are they going to do? They're down to, they have 1 Dawn left. They have a blocker. They have 1 life. They still have their leader attack and 5 Dawn. They're going to swing for 9. They're going to say, you know what? I'm just going to, I'm going to put them, they're going to put their opponent on a clock here and say, hey, you've got a very limited amount of time to win this game. Okay, here we go. They're going to play out a Red Rock here. The player at the bottom plays out Red Rock to get rid of the 9-cost the 9-cost Crocodile, and then they're going to swing in for 6 and sit on 3 Dawn as active. Okay, well, the player at the top said, okay, well, I'm just going to swing for 11. Now we're going to swing for 13. Okay, Gear 2, Gum Gum Giant, and they get out of it with 3 events, guys. Seems good. But now what? I don't know if there's a way to win at this point, because now there's nothing left on the board to attack with, and they still are at 2 life at the top, and they have a blocker. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a way to get out of this one, guys. Now, if I remember this game correctly, okay, first of all, I think they have 8 cards in hand, and one of them is a Hody Jones, but that's just not going to get him there, right? That's not going to help him go through for, you know, to get to the, that's not going to help him win the game in this situation, unfortunately. Okay, let's see what happens here. No Dawn is active this time. Going to swing for 9. They're going to block out, and then it's going to be swing for 15. Good game to both players. Okay, now let's check out the hand at the top here. They had Shirahoshi, double Gum Gum Giant, double Gear 2. They had Alvita there for a draw 3, trash 2 to fix their hand if needed. Really interesting list here, guys. I saw a lot of really cool combinations, but now we're going to get to the top 8, and let's see what people got to the top 8 using. Okay, here we go. First game up of the quarterfinals here. Let's go full screen. Now, this one I did have to adjust my camera ever so slightly for, because the person that was sharing their screen had the elongated screen here. Okay, Paul, sorry, I'm yapping too much. So again, just to kind of finish that, the reason this one looks a little bit different is because, remember, people are streaming on whatever device they're streaming on. So this one had a very elongated screen, so I had to adjust my camera a little bit. That's why it looks like this. Now, player at the top is going to go first. They have no turn 1 place. The player at the bottom, though, notice that. That is a 1-cost Searcher Pudding, okay? That is a 1-cost Searcher Pudding. And that, so we know right away, player at the top, now we have already seen them, right? PSI Rockin', we already saw them earlier on in the tournament. They're running a Egghead type of variant of Rainbow Luffy. Now, the player at the bottom, we have Hamburzy, and they're running a Big Mom Pirates version of Rainbow Luffy. All right, let's see what happens now. All right, turn 2 for the player at the bottom. They're going to start off with a 5K attack, and that is a trigger, guys. They're going to get a trigger from that. Another Lilith. The player at the top has fixed their hand twice now. Swing 5, swing 6. You hate to see that, to be honest, guys. No board development. This is not looking good for our player on the bottom. Pause. We're going to go to 1x speed for this one, because I do remember this game. They play very, very quickly. And look at that. Hang on. We have to go back real quick. So they take this. Hang on. So they take this 5K hit very greedily. They had 8 cards in hand, and watch this follow-up. That is a Charlotte Pudding, taking 8 cards down to 5. Absolutely brutal Charlotte Pudding play there by the player at the top. Okay, going to swing 11 into 5 here. That Lilith is gone. But again, we have no production, no development on the board. You have to develop characters on the board, guys, especially in the game of One Piece. I mean, I guess it depends. Who knows? Maybe maybe there will be a future leader out there that plays no characters on the board. That'd be kind of cool. But generally speaking, if you want to win at the game of One Piece, you're going to fight for the board. And the player who develops a better board or fights for the board better, more efficiently, they're typically going to win. That is a 5-cost Shaka and a 2-cost Sugar on the board for the player at the top there. Going to go 5K into 5. This is just an easy block. Okay, they chose not to block there. And now they're going to go and play out the Katakuri, pushing the Shaka to the top, to the bottom of life. Okay, now they do rest down the Katakuri with the, let's pause and talk about that play real quick, guys. So I think the way that this turn should have gone is, I think instead of attacking first, I think the player at the bottom probably should have played out the Katakuri, pushed the Shaka to life, forcing the Sugar to rest. And then you can swing 5 into the Sugar, get that card out of here, because that card is an absolute nuisance. That card is very, very annoying to deal with, because remember, guys, with this leader, we are counted as being Don Quixote types, so it gets the full effect of Sugar. Okay, so they push that to the top, Sugar rests it down, and now it's the player at the top's turn. So they're on I believe they're on a 9 Dawn turn. Let's see what they're going to be able to do with this. They're going to develop a Lilith. This is the 3rd Lilith of the game, so they have completely fixed their hand up at this point. They have gotten everything they wanted out of those searches, I'm sure, and they still have 6 Dawn left for the turn. They're going to start off with a 7K attack. It's going to be met with a 0-cost 3K, very nice. Then another 7K attack, very, very brutal, and that one's going to go through, and then they're going to pass the turn back with 2 Dawn active, okay? And they have 4 life. How are we going to deal with this? How's the player at the bottom going to deal with this? Okay, starting off with a Lin Lin. Okay, going to start off with a Lin Lin. We did things a little bit out of order there. Again, Guys, we have to play around this pudding. Or, excuse me, this, yeah, or I called it pudding, this sugar. The 2-cost sugar. I think I might have been calling it pudding earlier. My apologies if I did, guys. But the 2-cost sugar has to be dealt with. We have to deal with this sugar. But if you can't deal with it, then at least do your attacks first. We should have swung for 8 into 5 into the Lilith here with the Katakuri. And then after that, develop the 10-cost Lin the way they did. Okay, so again, here we go. They're going to develop the Lin, and then the sugar is going to tap down the 8-cost Katakuri, 5 into 0. Get that card out of here. Absolutely, good deal. We got that card out of here. That's a really good thing for us, or for the player at the bottom. So they're going to swing in for 5 to poke in, swinging for 5. They're going to have to 2K. We're going to have to 2K counter out of that. 5K more. These attacks are adding up, guys. Poke, poke, poke. All this chip damage is insane, and then they develop a 10-cost Lin of their own. This is not looking good for the player at the bottom right now. They're going to go 6 into 5. Can they survive, or can they protect this? They can. They 2K counter out. Now 8 into 5, they're just going to let that go, of course. And then 12 into 5, they're going to let that go as well, I'm sure. Okay, going to develop an 8-cost blocker. However, they're down to 1 life. We'll have to see if the player at the top has something to get around that, something like a Hody Jones. Because remember, guys, Hody Jones is a very, very powerful card in this format. Okay, they're going to swing for 5, and it gets met with a 2K counter. And now they're going to swing for 12. They'll probably take this, because I don't think they want to give up their blocker here. Actually, okay, they are going to give up the blocker just to be safe. But I probably would have risked it at that point, because if they had Hody Jones, then they already would have used it, I think. They're going to play out a Gecko Moria into a Sugar, into a 3-cost Lilith. They're fixing their hand. That is the 4th time a Lilith has gotten a search off this game. Very powerful interaction there with Gecko Moria. And I don't think there's any way to win on this turn for the player at the bottom. So it's going to be a matter of, like, how do I... Oh, gosh. Pause. We have to talk about this, guys. For those who are not aware, rewind. What happened? Not playing around Sugar again. Not playing around Sugar, I think, for the 3rd time this game. And it happens. It happens, right? But that Sugar can use its effect even when rested. The player at the bottom might not have known that, guys. But for those who are not aware, that Sugar can do their effect even when they're rested. The way we should have started this turn off, excuse me, is swinging 5 into the Sugar. They're going to let that go almost 100% of the time unless they redirect the attack. Then we go 8 into Sugar. You just keep going everything into Sugar no matter what, right? And then we could have gone from there. But here we go. Let's see what happens. Whoops. I hit backwards. Okay. So going to play out the 2-cost Katakuri here. This is going to allow them to use the Sugar to rest down our biggest character, our 10-cost 12K Lin. That's 1 less attack we have. Going to develop the 8-cost Katakuri here to push the Gecko Moria into life. And then we're going to swing 15 into 12. Guys, that's a single Gum Giant away from a counter out. It was a good try to you know, hopefully that, you know, to hope they were bluffing with the 2 Dawn active, but we had to, you know, I don't think we were ever going to get rid of that Lin unless they were just bricked. But it happens. Okay, they're going to swing for 5. Okay, this is going to be met with a 1K counter. Actually, they're just going to go ahead and concede because, guys, after that it was going to be a 5K, a 5K, and then, excuse me, it was going to be, so a 5K, a 5K, and a 12K was going to be the attacks there. Good game to both players. Let's check out the hand up there. Look at that. They had a lot of counter power in hand, guys. They had 2 2K counter Frankies, 2 2K counter Edisons, a Karasu, a Gum Giant, and then a 5-cost Nami to pop any 5-cost or lower characters when needed. Really good game to both players. All right, let's move. Let's keep moving, guys. We're down to the semifinals now. And then the finals. Okay, let me pause real quick because I do have to fix my camera one more time for this one. Okay, 1 second. All right, the camera's fixed. Now, this game here, guys, I think this is the 3rd or 4th time we've seen this guy, PSI rocking in the games. Okay, let's see what happens here. We know what they're running. They're running more of a, pause immediately, and we are going to go 2x speed for this one. The player at the top, Psy or PSI Rockin', they are running more of a egghead version of Rainbow Luffy, which has worked out pretty well for them so far, right? All things considered, it's worked out pretty well for them so far. The player at the bottom, what's that card, guys? Guys, what's that stage on the board there? I don't know if I've ever seen that card. What does that card do again? That's right, guys. That is the stage for Whitebeard Pirates. That is Moby Dick, okay? That card is when you have 1 or less life, okay? When you have 1 life or less on your turn, all of your Whitebeard Pirates characters and your Edward Newgate have plus 2,000 power during your turn. So it's not on your opponent's turn. You're not like a 7k leader after a certain point, like on defense. But on offense, you do become that. Because remember, guys, Luffy counts as all names and types and colors and stuff like that, right? All right, here we go. Let me hit play. So they're running a Whitebeard Pirates version of Rainbow Luffy. Player at the top is going to develop a Lilith and fix their hand. They're going to swing for 5. They get a trigger. Hey, they're taking life aggressively. This is like a Egghead Trigger Rush aggro list for Rainbow Luffy. You love to see it. Player at the bottom is going to develop an Ezo, searching up some Whitebeard Pirate stuff. And let's see what they get. They play out a Sanji afterwards. Seems good. And now the player at the top is going to swing 5, swing 5, swing 5. These little pokes, guys, they're so effective. All that chip damage adds up big time over the course of the game. Okay, let's see what the player at the bottom is going to do to try to, stop the aggression of the player at the top here. They're going to play out a Jozu. They're going to pull back the Ezo with that. They're going to swing 5 into 5 and then probably 6 into 5. Okay, this is going to help slow down the player at the top from all the development here and get some cards out of hand and got 2 characters off the board that turn. Very, very powerful. A very, very strong turn for the player at the bottom here. They're going to swing 5 and they do let the Sanji go to draw cards, 6 into 5. They're probably going to counter out of this. Because if they don't, it is true that their board will get buffed here. Looks like they're considering it. I think they should. Yeah, 2k countering out seemed like the safest play there. While it is smart to get down to 1 life with a deck like this for your stage, I would still wait, right? I think it's still smart to wait for now. Okay, going to play out 7 cost ace here to give minus 3,000 to both characters on the board. They're going to take that out with the leader attack, swing 7, and all of a sudden, this is a very even game here, guys. All of a sudden, it is 2-2 as far as life goes, and look at this board. The player at the bottom just pulled ahead after 1 turn after using that Port Gosti ace there. That was massive. That 7 cost ace is massive. So 5k is going to get met with a 1k counter, and I think countering out aggressively here. There's still 7 cards left in the player at the bottom's hand. You can barely see the number on the side there next to my Dawn deck, or next to the Dawn deck. They're going to take that and go down to 1. Okay, because remember, they're at 9 Dawn. They couldn't play out a 10 Lin. The player at the top is at 9 Dawn. Pause. They're going to play out a Shaka into Sugar, into Shirahoshi. Okay, now that they're at 1 life, their entire board, and their leader included, is getting plus 2,000 power. All Whitebeard cards are getting plus 2,000 power right now. Okay, gonna swing for 7. Those are 9Ks, guys. Gonna swing for 9. Gonna swing for 9. Okay, they use their blocker right away. Now there is some logic to actually go into that Shaka. Yeah, 9 into 6. I love that. Yep. And I mean, it all depends on what's in the hand of the player at the bottom here, but I even think a 5k attack with Ezo is could be pretty nice. Attach 1 Dawn, swing for 5 with Ezo. We'll take it every time. Okay, here we go. That stage is already pulling its weight right now, guys. It's already paying for itself, giving massive buffs across the board. Another Ezo gets developed here to fix the hand a little bit. Let's see what they decide to do with it. Okay, and then they play out the Sugar here. Or excuse me, they use the Sugar to rest down the Ezo. And now they're going to use that Searcher event there. It's called Thank You for Loving Me, right? The one with Ace on it. The Searcher with Ace on the front where you can search. It's a top 3 search to find a Whitebeard Pirates or a Luffy card. Okay, going to play out another Ezo. Going to replace the Ezo, bouncing back the Shaka. And then look at this board, guys. 1 Dawn active. They have 1 life. They're swinging for 5. Of course, they're going to counter out of that. You have to be very careful. And the player at the top is going to develop a Gecko Moria into a Shirahoshi and an Ulti. Ulti can do a top 3 search and draw a card no matter what it is. And you don't even reveal what it is, by the way. Okay, but these are 9k attacks, guys. These are 9,000 power attacks. Here we go. So they're going to counter out of the first one with a Gum Gum Giant and a 1k. Here comes the next one. Those Jozus and that Ace are 9,000 power right now. That is crazy, guys. The stage is so strong. Swing for 9 into 5. Absolute brutality here. How do you survive here? How do you survive? I would do another 9k poke, to be honest, guys, because that's going to take 3 cards minimum out of the player's hand at the top, or they give up their blocker, and then you can smash in with Ezo for the rest. Even a 7k poke is not bad here with the leader, because that's going to be bare minimum 2 cards from hand, or the blocker. Here we go. Let's see how they choose to do this. Let's see how they choose to do this. Oh, man. I think they could just push through for lethal here, right? I think this is calculated lethal at this point. Okay, let's see what they choose to do. They're really considering their options here, because remember, guys, this is the semifinals here. Whoever wins this game goes to the finals, okay? Here we go. What is the... I honestly think the option is swing 9, and then... I mean, you could swing 10, swing 12, I think, actually, or swing 10, swing 11, or something like that. Okay, so swing 7, it's met with a 2K, 1K. This has got to be lethal, right? This has got to be for lethal here. They're doing some math. Now, remember, there is a sugar on the board. So trying to play out a rush character like Hody Jones, it's not necessarily going to help you. Okay? They play out a Jozu here to push a card back. And now the sugar is going to rest down the Jozu. And now let's see what happens. They're going to play out the Izo. And right here, leaving 3 Dawn active just in case the player at the top has Hody Jones. This is becoming a nail biter. Guys, this has become a real nail biter. I probably would have tried to push for lethal that turn. That's just me personally. And it really depends on what's in their hand. Of course, I would need to see what's in the hand of the player at the bottom there. But here we go. They're going to swing 9 into 5 to start this turn off. If there's a Gum Gum Giant, this is probably the best time to use this, because you have the 1 life cushion. Oh, wow. They have the Shirahoshi event. It's a 1 cost plus 4K if your leader's Shirahoshi. Well, that was simple. They don't have to lose any Dawn. They don't have to use any kind of, tricks there. It's just a plus 4K and a 1K. Hody Jones is going to rest down the remaining Dawn, but is it going to be enough? It's going to have 2 8K attacks coming through here. And I think there's still, I think the 2 Izos did search up 2 2K counter Jozus. And I think the player at the top already knows that. But hey, they have to try some way, right? They have to go for it. Yep, double Jozu to 2K counter out of that. Swing in for 5. Okay, they're going to try to extend the game 1 more turn. I do not think that's going to go well. Even with 3 Dawn, this is about to be 4 9Ks just to start the turn off. 4 9Ks just to start this turn off, guys. So the 9K gets met with a Gum Gum Giant. The next one gets met with a Gum Gum Giant, but there's only three cards left in hand. This is going to be an 11. There's the blocker, swing for 11, and then it's going to be swing for 11 more. Good game to both players. I am a huge fan of this deck we're seeing at the bottom here. This Whitebeard Pirates version, big fan, guys. Really, really love seeing all these different style of decks that we can see in this format. I think I do show the player's hand. I'm gonna let this keep playing for just a second here, because I think I show the player's hand at the bottom. So hang on 1 second, guys. I'm even gonna fast forward a little bit. There it is. Pause. So here's what they had in their hand. That's what they had in their hand at the end of that game. They had that reject. And one thing I was thinking for last turn, I think they actually could have used reject to KO a 5 or less and go for lethal last turn. But hey, whatever the case is, good game to both players. How crazy is this Whitebeard version of Rainbow Luffy? That 5 cost 7K ace, that's a 5 cost 9K in this deck with the stage down like that. You love to see it, guys. You love to see it. All right, here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for, right? We got the finals. We got the final game here. All right, volume is off. Speed is on 2x, and here we go. Now, real quick, guys, the player on the bottom, their name is Gilgamesh. They were the ace player from last game, okay? The player on the top, their name is Panda Zed or Pandazed, however that's meant to be. I'll probably just call them Panda, okay? They are on the top, and we don't know what they're playing yet, right? We haven't seen any games from them just yet on the stream, so here we go. All right. So player at the top goes first, no turn 1 play. Player on the bottom going second, no turn 1. Actually, they do have a turn 1 play. They use they use double searcher events there to fix their hand up. Seems good. Okay, and I believe that searcher event can allow you to keep cards on the top or bottom after you do the search. Really good stuff there. Okay. And they start placing the cards on the top. Notice that they click to place the cards on the top. All right, so now it is Panda's turn. They are on turn 2, 3 Dawn. They're going to ramp with It's to Die For, swing for 6. Player at the bottom is going to take the hit, and now they're going, now on their second turn, they're on 4 Dawn. They're going to start off with a 5K poke. They take it, playing out an Izo here, fixing their hand, and deploying the Sanji. That's pretty much an ideal start there for this deck, I think, guys, after seeing what we saw last turn, getting all that searching done, and then playing out a Sanji afterwards. Seems good. Okay, here we go. Let's see what Panda chooses to do. They're on a 6 Dawn turn. Remember, they went first, but they ramped a Dawn last turn. They're going to ramp another Dawn, and now they're up to 7 Dawn, and they have a Mr. 2 Boncrate Bentham on the board. They're going to swing for 7. It goes through, and they have 1 Dawn as active. Okay? Gilgamesh is going to swing 5. Then they're going to swing 6. 1K counter out of the first attack. They take the second. Develop Jozu, pushing back a card to hand, and then pulling back the Izo to their hand. That Jozu, pushing the card out of the way like that, is massive. Clearing, okay. Panda attacks into the Sanji there. They let that card go. It already did its job, and it drew a card. Seems good. Now, let's see what they follow up here with a 9 Dawn turn. Guys, in this format, the 9 Dawn turn equals Katakuri plus 1 Dawn is active. Seems good. Okay, very aggressive play from Gilgamesh here. They develop a Hody Jones. They go down in life here, and now they do some hand fixing with the event, and they're going to swing 5, they're going to swing 7, they're going to swing 8. Okay, let's see what happens here. Yep, swing 5, swing 7, swing 8, and now Panda is down to 1 life, but they have a very healthy hand size now. 10 Dawn turn, 5k poke to start the turn off. I think we're going to counter out of this. There's 11 cards. If I read that correctly, guys, I think there's 11 cards in the hand for the player at the bottom. 1 pudding is like almost good game at that point, right? Okay, so Katakuri, they counter out, so a 5k counter out of the 5k attack, and then 8k into 7 was a 2k counter, and now it looks like Enel's going to be swinging 12 into 7. Whew, that's a tough call, guys. I don't know. If it's one of those situations where if you let the card go, you lose so much pressure on the board. But if you don't let it go, you know, if you save it, you lose so many cards from your hand. There's 9 cards in the hand. You see at the bottom, guys, I know it's hard to see. They're going to 0 cost 3k, 2k, 1k to get out of that. Whew, that's brutal, but I think it was probably the right call. I think that was probably the right call, guys. Seems good. Okay, here we go. So now it's back to, so Panda's going to pass the turn. They stand up Katakuri in a turn. And now the player at the bottom, Gilgamesh, they're going to start off with a search, try to fix their hand a little bit. They do have 2, remember guys, they right now they have 6 cards in hand, and they have 2 life, so they can probably survive 1 more turn. Okay, now right here, I'm not going to lie, I think you just have to go for lethal, because that is an 8,000 power Enel still. That is an 8,000 power Enel. Yeah, swinging for 5 here first. Katakuri's a 5k as well now, okay? So they can't really block out with Katakuri this turn. I think you just have to go swing 5, swing 7, swing 7, swing 8 here, and just go about things that way. Because going for that Enel is not going to help you, right? That is not going to help you out. Even if he swung for 3 8s here, I just don't think it would have been the right way. Okay, so 7 goes through. Hang on. Looks like 7 more is going to go through here, and then we're going to have an 8k. But here's the scary part, guys. They have to leave 2 Dawn as active because they're only at 2 life, guys. I think they only have 5 cards left in hand now. They cannot tap out, even if they don't have any events in hand. They have to bluff like they do, because if they don't, then that's going to be game, right? Okay, they end up. Hang on. So let me go back. Let me go backwards real quick here. So swinging 8 into 5, they have to give up their Katakuri blocker here, guys. They had to give up the blocker, so that means their hand is pretty bricked right now, right? That means their hand is severely bricked. Now, let's see what happens here. Panda is going to develop a 5-cost Nami, which is going to let them draw 3 and a range 2 afterwards on the top or bottom. And now, Enel is going to swing for 11 or probably 12 after trashing a card and gaining a life into 7. Okay, the player on the bottom here. Looks like they could potentially let this go, but I think there's a little bit of a mismath here. Like, watch this. They did +4, and then they only had a 1k counter left in hand. I was able to see their hand. Unfortunately, it was a little bit of bad math there, but it didn't matter either way because next turn's basically win or lose, right? So the player at the top develops a Rosinante, which lets them fix their hand and stand 2 Dawn as active. But here we go, guys. Let's see what happens here. I think the player at the bottom has another Hody Jones in hand, guys. I know we can't see it, but I'm just going to tell you, he has another Hody Jones in hand. Watch this. Gum Gum Giant, 8k into 5, draw 2, and they get out of it. Now watch this. Playing out the other Hody Jones, resting down the Dawn and the blocker. We're all in. We're all in here. We're going to swing 5, swing 7, swing 8, swing 9. He either has it or he doesn't. Watch this, guys. This ending could not be any more insane. This ending could not be any more insane, guys. Watch this. 7k is going to force a 2k, 1k out of hand, right? It's going to force a 2k, 1k out of hand. There's no Dawn active. There's a 2k. There's a 1k. Now swing for 8. If this goes through, how is he going to get... If he couldn't get out of the 8, how's he going to get out of the 9? With a trigger. It's to die for. Getting a Dawn is active. It gets him to an Oh Come My Way event, and that is going to be game. At this point, guys, it was insanity. It was pure cinema. Could not believe what we just saw. This is the finals, by the way. This is the final game, right? This is the finals here, and it is just a best-of-1 format. Good game. He does concede after that because there is no getting out, right? There is no way to get out of this spot here. Look at the hand. Look at their hand. Without that trigger event, giving them a Dawn as active, it's game over. It's just game over, right? There's no way out of it. What an incredible game. Good game to both players. The only thing that could have been done differently The only thing, we're going to go back and look at it, guys. Hang on, we have to go back to the very beginning of this one. Again, just an incredible game here. All right, so this was the end of last turn. Taking that hit there because they know, okay, we're all in now. The only thing I think I would have done differently, and of course, hindsight's 20/20, right? I think I would have Hody Jones first just to lock down the 2 Dawn. Because that 2 Dawn allowed him to Gum Giant, returning 2 Dawn to even have a trigger to be able to save him, right? Otherwise, we saw his hand. He only had a 2K, 1K to get out. Now, of course, we don't know that, right? We have no way of knowing that, but we do have at least some idea from last turn when he had to get out of a 5K attack. Now, again, hang on 1 second. He had to get out of a 5K attack, or an 8K attack last turn by giving up his 8 cost 5K Katakuri, which had been power debuffed, right? But this turn, they did go through 5, actually 6 cards, right? They drew a card for the turn. They did a draw 3, trash 2, or whatever with the Nami, so that's 4 cards altogether. And then the Rosinante trashing the Gamma Knife got them through 6 cards, so they could have fixed their hand. We had no way of knowing what was in their hand. But I still think the best case scenario here, no matter what, is just get those Dawn rested. They can have the blocker. I think that's the only thing we could have done differently there. But again, there is no way to play around what just happened there, especially in a format like this. It could have been a beige trigger to win them the game too. We have no idea, right? Either way, great game to both players. That was awesome. What an incredible, outrageous ending, right? Let's fast forward all the way to this ending here. One more time, guys. They swing for 7. They have the 2K, 1K to get out of this one. Watch this. And then we're going to end up swinging for 8 with the Hody Jones. It hits a trigger that gives them the Dawn to be able to win the first ever VV Theory Rainbow Luffy tournament with a "Oh Come My Way." It could not have gotten any better for as an ending than that. For again, given this tournament, for this tournament. I know that's not the way anyone wants to lose, obviously, because this was played very well by the player, by Gilgamesh, and it was also played very well by Panda as well. It's played well by both players, but man, what an absolutely incredible ending to the first ever Rainbow Luffy tournament we were hosting here on the VV Theory. You love to see "Oh Come My Way" getting in, doing work like that. Okay, y'all tell me what y'all thought about that in the comments section below. Was that as exciting for you guys as it was for me? Because I'm going to be honest, guys, I might even try to play in the next Rainbow Luffy tournament because I love this kind of format here, this kind of stuff where it's like, wait a minute. As a deck builder, as someone who likes to build all kinds of crazy decks, speaking of that, look at the hand, guys. That's a 10-cost blue Edward Newgate, 10-cost Shanks, and another Nami. I love formats like this because it allows you to make decks as however you want to, comboing the cards how you want to, and being able to use everything, everything you could not normally use and combo together. Now, we are going to end this video by checking out the top 2 deck lists, okay? So first we're going to check out the Edward Newgate, or the... not the Edward Newgate, but the Whitebeard Pirates deck list. Okay, this was the Whitebeard Pirates version here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And notice this, guys. Can I zoom in one more? Yeah, that looks fine. That is, all banned cards were legal in this format. Just OP12 and ST22 were not legal. That's going to be saved, probably for the next tournament. But notice the cards that were in here. Reject and Moby Dick, the stage. They're both in here. And this... I love how this is, it's not even like a Whitebeard Pirates list, right? It is Whitebeard Pirates, but this is really like an ace list, which is so amazing and like thematic with Luffy, right? Like they're, the brothers, right? Like they're fighting this war together. Luffy's the captain in this situation, but then you have all these cards, all these ace cards coming in to save him, right? And to protect him and to help him win, which is just awesome. And then seeing how this deck curved out with the Izos into the Sanji, and we didn't even get to see into the 5-cost ace, the 5-cost 6K ace, because remember, guys, that's a 5-cost 6K. It has a 1K counter. It's Whitebeard searchable, and it has Rush in this deck. And if you have the stage down, that's a 5-cost 8K Rusher. Absolutely insane. And then it has ways to protect itself with the once per turn effect. Okay, we saw the 7-cost ace there. Of course, we saw that in action in the last game. Then the Jozu, just incredible the way it's able to pull back Izos for more searchability and also push cards out of the way. It's a 9,000 power card when you have the stage down, when you're at one or less life. You have the Zeus's in here to help, maybe even take your own life cards with the Zeus. You have the Sanji and the Zeus to take your own life cards when needed to activate the stage if you have to go for lethal a turn early. Just incredible synergy going on there. Great job to Gilgamesh for coming up with this list here. Really incredible stuff. And they had the Reject. We did not get to see Reject, unfortunately. We did not get to see the reject in action, unfortunately, but hey, it is what it is. Then we had the Shirahoshi You're Not My Type event. I honestly would rather almost see this be Gum Gum Giant. To be completely honest with you guys, I'd rather that You're Not My Type be, Gum Gum Giant. But hey, this person chose to build the deck in this specific way, and that is a 1-cost 4K every time. Okay, really good stuff here. Oh, one more thing I want to mention: they do have the 0-cost event in here. 2K counter searchable Jozus, of course, and then this event here, it's called Thank You for Loving Me. We're gonna look that up real quick. Let me go out of full screen. We're gonna go into the actual. We'll type in loving. Go to blue. This is the event, okay? It's a 1-cost event. It is Whitebeard Pirates type. Trigger draws a card. Listen to this main effect here, guys. If your leader's type includes Whitebeard Pirates, which of course Rainbow Luffy gets counted as that. If your leader's type includes Whitebeard Pirates in it, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and reveal up to 1 card with Whitebeard Pirates included in its types, or Monkey D. Luffy, and put it into your hand. Then, here's the really tricky part, then place the rest of the cards on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So if you liked the cards you saw, or maybe you weren't able to grab something in there, like the Sanji, we saw the Sanji get played a few times, right? You can actually keep that card on top of your deck. So really, really cool interaction for this kind of format. I absolutely love this card. It's like a top 3 scry that could potentially draw you cards, like something like a Whitebeard Pirates, like the Jozu, or a 2K counter, either of the Jozus, right? Or even grab something like a Luffy. Okay, really cool stuff there. Now let's go ahead and look at the deck list that got first place now. Here is the first place deck list. Very spicy. I got to zoom in a little bit here, go full screen. Can you guys still see? Yeah, that's fine. So my camera is a little bit in the way, but it's not blocking any cards. You can still see the 3 It's to Die For, and the single I'm Invincible event to stand up Uda. Okay, so check this out, guys. This is so cool. They're running 2 Lucky Roo. That is typically a leader-locked card to Red Hair Pirates, right, to Shanks. They're running that. They've got 2 of the 10-cost Shanks in there. They have a single Edward Newgate, the 10-cost Edward Newgate, and then they have 2 of the 10-cost Enels. This card was really good. I'm going to be honest, though, I almost think 10-cost Linlin was slightly better than this card, but maybe not, because with this card coming into play and attacking and going for the board and still gaining you a life, seems good. It does kind of make you want to, take life aggressively so that you can get the full effect of this card, whereas 10-cost Linlin is not really situational. You just gain a life and your opponent loses a life. But still, this card came in very clutch in that last game there. It came in very, very clutch. The 8-cost Katakuri was also one of those cards that was kind of like one of the MVPs of the night. I think most people agreed that the 8-cost Katakuri and 10-cost Linlin, I think those were the biggest MVPs of the night out of everything we saw. And, of course, Gum Gum Giant as well. Oh, Come My Way being the ultimate MVP, though, that ended up winning the game for this player, for Panda, in the finals. But still, Gum Gum Giant, 8-cost Katakuri, and 10-cost Linlin in this format, they were monsters every time we saw them. So really good stuff there. This deck is running a single Pedro. They're running a single 10-cost Kaido. I do love that tech. For those who are not aware of what the 10-cost Kaido does, it's an on-play, and I think it's Dawn -6, and it KOs all characters other than Kaido on the board. So slamming that character down, trashing not trashing, but KOing the entire board, that can really help you dig yourself out of some pretty sticky situations. Okay, then they got the 5-cost Rosinante with a very large amount of events down here. Again, they're running 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, 11, 13 events, so they have plenty of events to trash throughout the game to turn on the Rosinante effect to draw 2 cards, helping him sort through his list. Running 4 of the Basil Hawkins, I do like that. Just a nice early 4-drop with a counter and a trigger. Draw 2, trash 1 trigger. They've got the Bayesian here to help shut down attacks throughout the game. We already saw what most... hopefully everyone knows what most of these events do down here. It's to Die For. That has, activate main, or, well, it's not activate, but the effect, you play it during your main, and you could ramp a Dawn, and if your opponent has, I think it's a 6,000 power or bigger character on the board, you can ramp 2 Dawn instead. And then Gamma Knife does -5,000 for the turn. I think it's a Dawn -1 or Dawn -2, -5,000. Real quick, the trigger on all of these, I think the trigger on every one of these events, I think, does give a Dawn as active. Let me see what Gamma Knife does. Gamma Knife might just be something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. Okay, Gamma has, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck is active. And then he has Thunder Bagua, Let me type in Thunder real quick. That should bring up the Thunder Bogwa card. Add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set as active. And then, of course, we just saw It's to Die For. Okay. Add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set as active. And again, it has, then if your opponent has a character with 6,000 power or more in play, you can ramp another Dawn. So this ramps a Dawn, and then it can ramp 2 Dawn if your opponent has a 6,000 power or bigger character in play. So everything we see here from this list is actually very well, thought out. There's a lot of ramp going on. You have your 4 costs, Boncray Benthams, you have your It's to Die For. All of these have triggers like the Thunder Bogwa. Oh, and we have 2 Gear 2s to ramp as well. And so the Thunder Bogwa, the Gamma Knife, and the It's to Die For, those all have triggers to ramp Dawn, okay? And then Oh Come My Way has a trigger as well to draw 2 cards. I think it's a Dawn -1 or Dawn -2, draw 2 cards. Really, really powerful effect there. We have the Beige to shut down attacks like we were saying. We have the Gum Gum Giants. 2K counter Bartolomeo as a blocker. A lot of blockers in here. Guys, when it comes to these random, like limited formats, having blockers is really strong, right? Having the ability to block out of a bunch of stuff is a big deal. So look at this. They have 2 Katakuri, 2 Lucky Roo, 1 Pedro, 3 Bartolomeo, 3 Nami, so that's 11. I think they have 11 blockers in the list, and then they have all those events. Really good stuff here. The main idea that this list is trying to do, there are some decks that were based around a type. Like the last list we saw by Gilgamesh, this was built more around the idea of like, okay, we're going to, focus on a certain type like Whitebeard Pirates and then just include other cards that just complement what it's doing. And then there's decks like this that are focused on an actual game plan where it's like, okay, instead of having a type that we build around that has like, maybe a strong curve to it and has like synergy in that way, instead they were focused more on like, okay, here's my game plan. I'm actually just going to ramp as hard as I can early in the game, and I want to start dropping down these monsters later in the game, in the mid game even, as weird as that sounds. We're going to drop down the late game characters in the mid game because we ramped there early, and then in the very late game, we're actually not going to play any more big characters. We're probably just going to play out a bunch of these little blockers and then have counter events ready to go. Awesome stuff here. All right, guys, that's it. Tell me what y'all thought in the comment section below. Let me get the outro on here. What an amazing time that was. Hopefully, for the people who could not make the tournament or who were not able to watch the tournament live, hopefully that helped out a little bit and you enjoyed it because it was a really good time. I hope we do that again in the near future. Big shout out to a lot of people here. Hang on, guys. Number 1 to the sponsors of the tournament, which I think was Port Gosti Abe and Kuma or Big Bear. Big shout out to the sponsors. Big shout out to my mods who put the whole thing on. Okay, the mods were the ones who were controlling this whole tournament while I was streaming it. Right, they're the ones who were running the show. And then big shout out to all the competitors, all the players in the tournament. Awesome deck list, guys. And one more thing I should mention while we're talking about them. If you want to see more of the different decks that were available that people played, a lot of people posted their deck over on the VV Theory Discord under the Deck Theory Crafting channel. So if you guys want to see some other really cool ideas, be sure to check those out on the Deck Theory Crafting section of the VV Theory channel. Okay, so big shout out to the players for coming out with all these really cool different decks and ideas and designs. And then last but not least, big shout out to all the viewers, okay, who were there live with me during the stream. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Okay, I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Guys, if you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing my stuff, using my TCG Player affiliate link, if you're donating through Patreon or PayPal, if you're a Playmat supporter or a YouTube member, part of the Discord community, however you're helping me out or helping out the One Piece community, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. All right, I'm done. Hope y'all enjoyed. Till next time, guys. Peace.